Okay, we'll bring our meeting back into session for the afternoon. And on our agenda is Jay Smith, Scott Johnson. We still in executive? Okay, we're out of executive. Scott, you're up first.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Today I'm going to introduce the three members of MDT that are here to give you an update on their projects around the reservation. And I think you'll find it pretty informative on what they have planned. And we have Mickey Lloyd, Jacqueline Smith, and Bob Vosen. And I'll have them just jump right into it here. And they'll come up and do their presentation.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you for having us today. My name is Bob Vosen. I'm the district administrator for Western Montana with the Montana Department of Transportation. And with me today, I've got Mickey Lloyd and Jacqueline Smith, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Smith, and I am the District 1 pre-construction engineer.
Good afternoon. My name is Mickey Lloyd. I think I've met several of you before. I am a manager on about 5 of the projects that we'll be discussing today. Thank you.
Well, welcome, Mickey, Bob, Jacqueline. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Excited to have the opportunity to meet with you today. We do have a lot of work, as you can see on the map that you have, and all the different projects around. And we actually have a few additional projects that are smaller projects that are done by our maintenance folks, our maintenance staff, versus what you see on the map here is through our engineering program. So I'll cover those as well. And mainly though, one of the big things here is we just want to work on continuing a good relationship. A lot of work in the area. It's exciting to have this much work in front of us, looking at improvements that are hopefully going to be coming sooner rather than later. So some of them starting this summer, some of them are still quite a ways out. But again, just there's all over Western Montana, we've got a tremendous amount of needs, and the here on the reservation, that's the hub of everything. All the traffic that's trying to get north and south and east and west, it seems to run through here in some fashion, and we recognize all the challenges that we have. Western Montana, we've got we've been found, as the traffic the last couple summers has shown. Holy cow. I don't know where everybody's coming from. We all know where they're trying to go, and that's someplace in Western Montana. So definitely add some challenges to our doing the work we have to do. But when I meet with my 4 counterparts from other parts of the state, I'm constantly trying to emphasize what a tremendous, the needs we have in Western Montana and the traffic and stuff. So blessed to live in a beautiful place that we do. But it's a curse sometimes too, when we get overrun with people in the summertime, it feels like. So I'm gonna have Jacqueline go through the list, and Mickey, they're much more versed on the details, the specifics of the projects. So if we want to just jump into, we can start at the beginning and the map and go through the projects. And if there's other things that you guys have questions about or on the map or related to other things too, just don't hesitate.
Well, Bob, I would like to ask you a question right off the get-go, because you you mentioned the elephant in the room, and that's, 100,000 people moving to Western Montana alone in basically the last 18 months, probably even more than that. So as far as that, the level of service, or are you documenting that through traffic counters as far as the increased visitation or the permanent residents, in the off season?
Yeah, and that's something that I've met with Missoula County and Flathead County both about what the numbers that you hear are all over the map of what the population increases are, what they really are. That there's really not a good way to necessarily document how many new residents. We can look at home sales, but a lot of that's people moving up or moving over, or moving across. So it's not new people, it's people relocating from where they were. Another method that's looked at is automobile registrations. But that's kind of challenging too, because I registered 4 new vehicles last year myself. I had 2 teenage drivers get new vehicles. I upgraded mine, and then I said, holy cow, I need something that gets better mileage. So I got myself a beater with a heater to commute with. And so I registered 4 new vehicles, but I've been here for 15 years. So that's really not a great metric to use either. So one thing that we can do that is valuable is we've got traffic counts that we do every year in a lot of places. And our traffic counts are up, but they're not up at the ridiculous numbers that you hear. I heard that we had 50,000 people move into Flathead County. The simple fact is the infrastructure wouldn't handle doubling the population in 2 years. It would have crushed the water, the sewer, the roads would be we've got traffic, but we don't have gridlock that we would if we truly doubled our population in a 2-year period. So we are monitoring the traffic. We do know the numbers are up, but I think Jacqueline or Mickey have some info about traffic counts in some of the areas that our counts are up from where they were, but we're actually in a lot of places not above, we're barely above previous historic highs for traffic counts. So if you go back to before the 2006, 2007, when the crash took place, we're about back to where we were then, but we haven't really exceeded it. So it was really shocking to me, and maybe we all have amnesia and we forgot how bad it was that long ago. I don't know. But we definitely are monitoring it, and obviously we are fully funded by gas tax dollars. So we're monitoring what the usage is, and we're constantly tracking how much money we're bringing as an agency via the gas tax, and that's showing how many gallons are used. And so numbers are up, but they aren't. We sure haven't doubled. So we're up slightly. So.
Yeah, and what we have seen since the pandemic hit is, so traffic volumes haven't really skyrocketed like what you kind of think they're going to, but what we have really noticed is the peaks aren't so much peaks anymore. So it used to be you'd have your morning rush hour would be really high, and then you'd drop back down, and then you'd have your afternoon rush hour that'd be really high. And we're just kind of getting one steady stream all day long now. So it's not people hitting it hard in the morning and afternoon. We're seeing just regular traffic all day long.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because, and I have to quote your supervisor, your boss, the governor, in talking about Ravalli County, where the registration person put a dot on the map of every new out-of-state person that came into the office to register their vehicles.
Right.
And I can't remember what he said, it was either 15 or 18,000 in Ravalli County. And that was new people that from out of state. But when they come, they're working from home.
Right.
So that's why the level of service, I'm really wondering about those traffic counts, because if they're mobile and they can work from home, they don't need to go to the office at 8 a.m. or come home at 4:30 or 5. They're working from home. So it's a different paradigm. And it makes sense for a level kind of increasing service.
Yeah, and the other thing that we see is that people are finding new routes to get from A to B as well. So we're seeing that not only spread out across the day, and the pandemic allowed people to created a lot of flexibility for a lot of the workforce, where the standard 8 to 5 isn't necessarily the norm. People are able to show up earlier or start later or whatever, so they're spreading that out as well.
If I asked you information like what is the traffic count for Highway 28 compared to last year or the year before, would you be able to pull that information?
We can pull that information. We don't have counters on every road that are annual. We do on a lot of our major roads. We have fixed permanent mount counters that are constantly gathering data. Other routes, we do some seasonal counts, and those are actually available. There's a really handy map on our webpage where you could, anytime you're interested, you can go out there and click on it, and it takes you right to it. So we can get a link sent to you. We've got a pretty good amount of information on our map galleries. In particular, shows what projects are in the works. It has traffic counts. It has who's responsible for different routes in the area, whether it's state, county, city. There's just a lot of really good information out there. So we'll get you a link.
That'd be great, Bob. Thank you.
You bet.
Sorry.
Bob, can you send me that link and I can forward it to everyone?
Absolutely.
Sorry about the interruption. Go ahead.
No, that's great.
Wait, Anita has a question.
Just real quickly before I forget, you were talking about the peaks and probably starting near the end of May. I don't know if you've ever been out here in between Charlo and Polson.
So
15 miles an hour, bumper to bumper.
yeah, I personally live in the Flathead, but I have an office in Missoula, so I travel back and forth through here 2 to 4 times a week. So I will admit there's times when I've looked and seen what the traffic looks like, so I find an alternate route myself, a good day to go check out how back road looks or something and figure out a way to go around it. Definitely recognize that the traffic is definitely, particularly it seems like when it's really last year, man, 4th of July week was horrendous. And we do have some challenges, and Jacqueline can talk about it a little bit. We're looking at some timing adjustments with the signals to try to get them to align so we don't have as long as stops. I think one of the things that really can cause those backups is it's again, everybody that's in Kalispell needs to be in Missoula, and everybody that's in Missoula needs to be in Kalispell. And so we've got, because it's not like everybody's traveling in one direction. So the southbound traffic wants to make a left turn to pull into someplace in Ronan or here in Pablo, and the northbound traffic wants to make a left. And that's what's really causing a lot of the backups, is that you sit there trying to find a gap in that string of traffic to make a left-hand turn, and all it does is it exacerbates the problem behind them. It just continues to stack up more and more cars. And so if one of the things that we're going to try to do is make some signal timing adjustments to make the signals work together, optimize it as much as possible. I don't know when that's happening.
Well, the signal project that we have going on, it's being looked at in Polson. So Ronan's been looked at and it's been optimized as much as it can be, which is why it's all that much more important that we get the Ronan project constructed, because the hardware is just so old that you can only tweak it so much. But Polson, we're gonna be updating the signal timings there, so traffic should flow better through Polson this year. And then we'll get to construction on Ronan, the first part of it. If you guys are ready, I can go ahead and dive into the list and we can actually go through the projects. Okay. So on your sheet, we're gonna start on the upper right-hand side. There it's got Montana 35, RP 5.5 to 6.5. The sheets I handed out don't have the numbers. I deleted those. I didn't want you to think that that was a prioritization, but it's more for my notes as I'm reading through them. But on the screen, you can see that there are the numbers there. So this is a safety project, and it is adding a northbound left turn lane on Finley or onto Finley Point Road. This project is brand new, so we don't have a schedule developed yet. And so without that schedule, we don't know yet when it's going to go to construction. So this is kind of all the information I have at this point. It's going to be a turn lane. I don't know what the design's entirely going to look like, what right of way is needed or anything, just new project, soon to start developing.
Yeah, that's a tight area between the fire hall and the restaurant.
Yeah. Moving on to number 2, which is the Minesinger Safety Project. So this is here on 93. This is at the intersection with Minesinger Road. And this one is to address a left turning crash trend that we're seeing. If you've gone through that intersection before, you notice how offset each of the left-hand turn lanes are, and you have to travel such a large distance to turn left. So we're actually going to move the left turn lanes further to the left so that you don't have such a gap to cross when you're turning left. And you won't have to be looking past the opposing left turners. You'll be able to see the actual through traffic coming your way so you can better judge the gap to make your turns. And that project we're planning on constructing in 2024. And I'll just pause after each one. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to speak up and ask them. Moving on to the third one, as we're going clockwise on this list, we've got the Spring Creek Road Minesinger Trail. This is a pavement preservation project, and it is just going to be just a chip seal. So we're going to just put some new rock surfacing over the top of it for some friction. And that one we plan on constructing in 2023. However, if we do get any additional funding at the end of the fiscal year, this project may be let for construction the end of this year, but you would still be seeing construction occur next year because of the temperatures that you need for the work. Moving on to number 4, we've got the Pablo Safety Improvement Project. And this one is to address a crash trend similar to what we're seeing at Minesinger. The issue is with vehicles turning and the visibility for judging the gaps. So this one, we worked extensively with different stakeholders, local landowners in the area, the airport, emergency services, members of the tribe, to find a solution that would work. And the solution is something called an R-cut or a J-hook. And that, I guess, let me just do a quick poll of hands. Is anybody familiar with that type of intersection? Okay, don't feel guilty at all, because it's not a very common one. So how this intersection will operate is when you are approaching 93 from the east hand side, say, and the same applies for opposite direction, but when you're coming from the east and you're wanting to go west across 93, you're actually going to take a right on 93 and head north. And then in the median, we're gonna build a crossover connection, a permanent asphalt surfacing, where you'll then take the left and turn onto the southbound 93 flow and then take a right. So that way you're really only focusing on one direction of travel as you're making your movements. You're not having to judge all these different traffic flows that are coming towards you. So that took a lot of effort to actually reach that solution. So if any of you, I wasn't super involved with all of that one, so I don't know all the names of the people involved, but if any of you were involved with that, thank you so much for your coordination with that. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, Martin. Oh, you were part of the project? Yeah. Planning? Good input.
I'm glad that there were people way smarter than me about this, providing input too, so.
There was a lot of meetings on that. There's a lot of conversations and back and forth.
I just tried to drive fast through that intersection.
And so that one, I just was gonna look, we don't have a construction date planned for that one yet. We're still updating the schedule to develop it. And Mickey will go ahead and cover Ronan North.
Ronan North. So we've been a long time waiting for this project. Pretty excited about it. I think most of you know it's reconstruction from the project that ends out of Pablo here, where we have the divided 4-lane section, and we'll be heading south into Ronan with a 5-lane system, 4-lane system. 4-lane undivided system. We are building part of the couplet. So right as we get close to town, you guys are aware of the Boys and Girls Club, which we ended up buying that building. The couplet is going to split back behind the Dairy Queen. We are building that avenue. At this point, it won't connect to the full couplet because we don't have the town portion done, but it will start allowing people that are heading southbound and want to go into the town of Ronan to start utilizing that in the meantime. And then we're ending it at the Round Butte Road intersection. So we're not redoing the intersection at this time. That'll come with the urban section. But we are done with final plans on that. What we are doing currently is final right-of-way relocation or final right-of-way negotiations, utility relocations, and some of that started here this past week. If you've seen some construction vehicles in that area. And then there's a few agreements that we need for maintenance, construction, and utilities that are left. As soon as those items are complete, we will get the project ready to advertise an award, which we still hope to have done here in 2022. And so we're hoping, if it's early enough, that they might get some construction done the end of this year, but the majority of the work will probably be done in 2023. So we're really optimistic that we're gonna get this one taken care of. So I'm pretty excited about it too. Ronan Urban.
Oh, sorry, if you wouldn't mind. Part of the construction and maintenance agreement is you will be seeing that agreement. I've worked with Dan Lozar to develop that, and then Scott has also helped me with it. But that agreement, it's a 4-party agreement. So it's got MDT, it's got the county, it's got the city of Ronan, and it's got CSKT. Everybody contributing some type of maintenance effort to share the load, so we're not burdening one entity over the other. So you will be seeing that at some point in time. We're still working with the city of Ronan to work through their comments, but once we have that finalized, it'll be presented to tribal council for approval and signature.
So the Spring Creek to Mine Singer chip seal and part of the Ronan North occur at the same time?
They definitely could. Depending on when we get the agreement started or completed and we can get started, you know, the likelihood this fall will be, I'm sure the contractors want to get in and get irrigation work done on the Ronan project. The chip seal work typically chip seals are tough in Western Montana because our climate really only allows us to do it in July and August. And our climate really encourages everybody to be here in July and August. And so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. The good news is that that Mine Singer project is, looking at the length here, that is about 8 miles, 7.5 miles, something like that. So we're only a few days to perform that. I mean, that's a week-long project, with the heavy impacts probably being about 4 days. So it might be a really kind of a miserable 4 days, but it's hopefully it won't be. We can work to coordinate a little bit, and there's enough of a gap between the two that we can try to locate, give people a little bit of a pause in between the two.
Any other questions on Ronan North before I move to Ronan Urban? Okay, Ronan Urban. This is the greater project through the town of Ronan, including the couplet, and then it extends down to Brook Lane. We haven't been working on this project because we've been focusing on the Ronan North project. However, we are starting to look at this again. And our first step is going to actually split the project into 2 projects. This helps us because the costs fit better within our funding program. Also, it may allow us to build the Ronan South project sooner. The Ronan Urban project has a lot of utility and right-of-way. I guess lots of right-of-way and lots of utilities to move for both. And because of that, that could delay both projects. So we are going to split those into 2 separate projects. We're working on that currently, and then we are going to be starting design on those. They do not have a schedule developed because we will be splitting them. The hope would be to have the South project deliverable before the urban section. Any questions?
Yeah, I can't remember, Mickey, if there was an addition of another light. Was there stoplight on that one?
There's several signals through town. I don't recall right now, but I believe that there's like 4 or 5 signals throughout the town. And obviously they're sequenced together to try to help move traffic and give breaks where necessary. And then between the 2 couplets allow movement between the 2, you know, the one northbound, the one southbound. So people will be using that block in between at times to, you know, turn back around if necessary. And I can get you those exact locations if you'd like. It's been a while since I've looked at that section.
Oh, I was advocating for as many stoplights as possible because I live in Ronan and I want to go across the highway.
Yes, I think there's.
I don't care how fast people make it to Kalispell.
Well, it will be achieved with this. Thank you.
I should have, I'm going to take a step backwards. I should have pointed out to you and explained the title blocks that we have for each of the projects. So we're moving on to number 7, which is the Eagle Pass Trail Safety Project. So when you look at the call out for that, in the top left above the line, it's got US 93. So that's the route that the project is on. RP 40.8 to 41.5. So that's RP stands for reference post or mile marker. And then we've got SF 179 Eagle Pass Trail Safety. That's our official project name for the project. And UPN is the project number that we have associated with it. And then that third line identifies what the project is, a very brief description. And then the year in parentheses there, that's the tentative construction year that we have planned for the project. So on this Eagle Pass Trail Safety Project, this is a relatively new project that's another safety one because of a crash trend occurring there at Eagle Pass Trail and 93. And it is going to be adding a left turn lane for southbound traffic to turn onto Eagle Pass Trail. And this project is currently being designed and we plan on constructing this one in 2024.
I'll move on to the US 93 Post Creek Hill project. This is a reconstruction project. It includes the bridge over Post Creek itself, a truck passing lane on the northbound lanes up Post Creek Road. With this project, I think maybe most of you are aware, we had quite a few issues with our foundation exploration that we were doing. We hit 2 artesians during our exploration and trying to figure out what we're going to do a foundation for the bridge. We ended up completing a value analysis study here about 1.5 years ago. And then recently, this last summer, we decided to do another study, which was an expert review. It included the same consultant that was hired for the VA study, plus members of the FHWA kind of experts in their fields. And we conducted that study, and they evaluated risk, cost, and then also some of those tangible commitments and things of that nature. What ended up resulting out of that is that expert group felt that the 500-foot bridge with ground improvement ranked the best. And as part of that, we are going to meet with tribal council separately for that project specifically and go through that expert review with all of you. In the meantime, we are going to start working with our design consultant on the project, who's more summarily, and start getting to work on what we need for additional foundation analysis and design to getting us moving that forward. The 500-foot bridge was what was stated in the EIS. And at this point, we do not have a date for construction on that, but we hope once we start working on that, that we will get a schedule that we can actually commit to. So, any questions? US 93 North wildlife fencing. This is the installation of 4.5 miles of wildlife fencing both north and south of St. Ignatius. This fencing actually connects to existing wildlife crossings that we built initially with the original US 93 North projects. We put wing fencing on those, but we didn't connect the fencing between some of the crossings, and this is to close some of those gaps. And it was mentioned in the biological opinion that was recently done for this corridor or redone for this corridor. We just recently completed the final plan review on this project, and we're hoping to let this project in August of 2022 and hopefully the majority of construction this fall.
Moving on down the line, we've got the Johnson Wetland Mitigation Project. And this is a project that's actually not a road project. We're creating wetlands for future road projects where we will have some wetland impacts. So this is to offset any future impacts that we may have with the remaining 93 construction. The project design is actually complete, but we're held up trying to get an umbrella agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. And once we have that, we'll be able to let the project, but this is a pretty complicated issue that I'm not even going to try and pretend that I know all that's going on with it. But there's been quite a bit of conversation and dealings with getting this agreement completed. So yeah, as soon as we can get that agreement done, it'll be let for construction.
I guess my question on that is, how involved is tribal staff been in selection of that project?
This is an old project. And it's been around before I have been in this position. So I can't say for sure. I would suspect that there's been some involvement, but I can't tell you exactly how much. Do you have a specific question or concern?
Well, in my former position, I don't recall this, and I was a Fish and Wildlife Director. for the
Okay.
tribes.
Would you like more information on
I'd love to have more information on it, yes.
Yeah, I'll when we send the link for the plans, I can also dig up some old reports on it and pass that along if that's okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on that one? All right, so moving on to the next one, we've got the US 93 North. So this is just to the left of the Johnson Wetland project. We've got this US 93 North rumble strip project. And this project actually runs from Evero to Polson. And I know you're probably still fresh in your memory. Well, we just had the rumble strip project come through last year. That was for center line rumble strips. And this one is actually a little more proactive in its approach. This one's for shoulder rumble strips. And this one's to help prevent drivers from driving off the road. So we have been seeing some crashes of this nature. And so we're feeling the need to go ahead and do this to prevent that number from increasing. And that one we plan on constructing in 2023.
Yeah, go ahead, Bing.
I want to ask a question about those rumble strips. Down on the corners, down in the curves, down in the valley down here. Is there a chance the guy could make those rumble strips, put them out further out away to the bank instead of right next to the white line that you have there on, so a guy could drive out there a little bit further, because a lot of them trucks come around them corners. They got them corners pretty good to the end, to the middle, and the center line. And there are a lot of them that go over the center line. So when we go down there, every morning when I come to work, I try to get as far over to right as I can before I hit the rumble strip, and sometimes over the rumble strip, but just to make sure that I'm not gonna be run over by those trucks, because boy, they come around those corners, they're 60 mile an hour don't mean nothing to them, on that corner down there. There's not a truck one that goes 60 mile an hour around there. But it's dangerous, because especially in wintertime. You come around in the wintertime, and I always go over to drive over to the right side, get further over, so I don't have to worry about, somebody sliding into me or coming across with a trailer or whatnot, it's on that particular part of the road. But I was just wondering if there's a possibility of moving that rumble strip over a little bit further than what it is.
Yeah, that's a really good comment. And I know we've made some adjustments on other projects where they are offset a little bit more from the line on curves. And actually the location that you bring up is right in line with the next project that I think, because you're right, that area, we are seeing some crash trends occurring there, and especially in winter. And so we do have another safety project to install weather activated speed limit signs to get people to slow down through those curves, especially for the northbound traffic, because they're coming on that straight stretch. And when they make it to the curves, it just kind of catches them off guard from going from such a long straight section. So we are seeing stuff happening out there, and we do have this project that's also going to help with that. And I do have a note to talk to the project manager about the offsetting the rumble strips. Do you have any other questions on that? Okay.
We're switching routes now. Perma curves. This is a project on Montana 200. It was previously called Paradise East section. People seem to locally call it perma curves, so we updated the project name. This is a project that's been with MDT for quite some time, obviously in a very environmentally and culturally sensitive area. Prior to the pandemic, we did meet with both cultural committees and the THPO to talk about the safety concerns that we had in this area and potential options. A suggestion that was forwarded back to us was, can you put together some concepts to show areas of different impacts and areas of improvements and how we might be able to improve safety with different types of concepts. We have the consultant who's KLJ currently working on those concepts. And our idea was to hope to present those back to the THPO and then also the cultural committees again to determine the actual scope of this project. Originally, it was slated as a complete reconstruction, but now we've are taking another look at that. It may be reconstruction in parts, rehabilitation in others, or spot safety projects, depending on the feedback that we get from that. We do not have a schedule since we don't have the exact scope defined yet, but hope to be working on that.
Do you have actual crash data for that section? Because, you know, been here my whole life, driven it all the time. I've
Yeah.
never seen a wreck there.
Yes, so we have, there's definite areas that we've seen crash trends. We did provide a memo. It's been probably 3 years ago, but I could dig that back up and resend it to you if you're interested in that. It'll be from a couple years ago, but we could update that as necessary. But there's definitely, similar to what Jacqueline was talking before, there's definitely sections where you know, you go kind of from some nice wide open straight areas to where it gets into closer to the river, more confined spaces. You're, you know, going against the cliff walls with the river on the other side. And I think it catches people off guard. And what we've heard too is that trucks once again cross that center line quite often and different things of that nature. So some of those curves that from the straightaways and then the first couple curves, that's an area. And then some of the tight areas also where there's just confinements on both sides. So we're gonna, like I said, look at some safety options and then also things that can improve it for safety purposes in different gradations, and then look at what those impacts would be. We also had the THPO complete our cultural study on that, and they completed that, did a really excellent job for us. And I think that was kind of the last major step we had before we got kind of shut down with the pandemic. So. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Bing.
You know, thank you, Mr. Chair. And that area you're talking about down there, you know, on that one side there is all solid rock face on that curves. And I drove school bus for about 19 years for Arlie through there, you know, and taking trips down through there with the buses. When you get there, next thing you know, guess what's coming? A big truck, semi coming, you know, and so you got to get over as far as you can so you're not going to be, you know, running into them or him running into you, because they, like I say, the trucks don't know what speed limits are, you know, but for safety concerns for the kids, you know, that's what I was looking at before. And I talked to you guys, I believe, about it in Elmo before when you had the meeting up there a couple of years ago. But, you know, that's really a concern down there with the school buses, you know, because there's not much room to navigate at all through those curves with the school bus, especially when you're coming back south, you know, and it's the curve going down through there is a person you're going in there, you usually slow up to go down into those curves when you're going towards Plains, but coming back, it's a bugger, you know, and it'd be good to say, I don't know how you're going to take, if you're going to be able to take any of them rocks out. I don't know what the cultural committee's got to say about removing them rocks out of that face there or what, but you know, it's a concern. And I don't know, on the other side, you have the river, so you're not going to have much room in there to do much work on that side either. But it's really a concern, you know, I mean, for the kids' sake, for these school buses, because you always have school buses going down through there. I don't know how far the bus comes out of Plains to go up that highway, you know, that there, but it is really a safety issue that going on that particular part of the road. You know, the rest of the road is nice, but that particular part is a bugger.
I really appreciate your comments, and yes, we would love to do something here to improve safety in this area. It's a long time coming. Obviously, we also recognize that there's other considerations that we need to you know, take in balance here. And so I think that's why we're trying to provide some concepts that hopefully can be reviewed, and then potential impacts so that we can determine what those would be, and then hopefully come to some decision that everybody's comfortable moving forward with. Thank you.
The next one is the Flathead River 1 mile east of Perma. So this one is on the secondary route 382, just east of Perma there. And this project is going to rehabilitate the bridge that crosses the Flathead River. And it includes deck repair, bridge rail revisions, repairing cracked and spalled substructure concrete, and also repairing the steel superstructure where it's got some corrosion and fatigue wear to it. Currently, we're just doing the survey work on this one. This project, we are planning on handling it as a design build project, which just kind of helps expedite delivering the project to construction faster. And so we expect design to happen in 2023 for this project, with construction occurring in 2024. Then if we move on to the next one, we've got this Perma Canyon project, also on that same secondary route. And this is actually a maintenance project. And it's going to be an overlay and chip seal. And they're hoping to construct that this year. And I don't know, Bob, if you had anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so that project's gonna start right at the north end of the bridge that Jacqueline just mentioned. It's gonna go north for about 5.5 miles. Just get up, basically once you get up on the flat out of the canyon, out of Perma Canyon up into the Camas Flats area. And that work will take place this summer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I drive that section of the road a lot, and animals are multiplied, probably 100-fold over what they've been in the past. Is there any chance of safety on all of 382? So many deer, so many elk, even bighorn sheep.
Yeah, with this project, no, this is a low budget maintenance project, if you will, done with our state funded. It's a state funded project. There's no federal funds coming into it. It's been identified as something that maintenance wants to keep the asphalt together, but there's no real expansion. It's just preserve what we have. But we'll definitely add that to our list of desires for the area. One of the things that we do have is a database. When our maintenance guys are picking up roadkill, they log where they find it. And so we're constantly trying to figure out where what our best benefit cost ratio is for where we're having the most critters hit, and try to look at doing wildlife fence and crossings in those areas and stuff. But I'll add a note to have somebody take a look at that stretch.
If you're ready, we'll move on to the Crow Creek Bridge project. So this was on Moise Valley Road, and this is going to be an off-system bridge replacement project. And this is a new project. We're actually going to start surveying it this year. And so we're still also just getting the project program. So at this time, we don't have a schedule developed for when it'll be constructed. It's very new. Yes. Yes, Scott's question was if it was on a county road, and I said yes.
Anita,
What was that question again here?
If it was on a county road?
So it's
Yes.
the one down across from the river on,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
All right, so are they gonna finish that stretch of asphalt on now? Do you know, Scott? Cause now they had it all graded and ready to go, and then of course winter hit, and now they're gonna have to start over on that stretch, but it was kind of paved.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their plans are on that right now. The bridge project, you're involved because it's over 20 feet long, so that it's eligible for the
The off-system bridge funds, yep, it's just only, the funding is only to be applied for the bridge and whatever connections onto the existing road on each side. So Mickey kindly pointed out, I've maybe been going a little slow. I'm sorry for that. I hope. So I'm gonna pick up the pace if that's okay. So we can cover all of them.
It's not you
but-
guys, it's us.
No, I've been talking slow and just pausing a lot. So sorry, I will keep her rolling. The next project is number 17. It's the Round Butte Road Path in Ronan, and this is the Transportation Alternatives Project. And it's going to be installing that shared use path along the north side of Round Butte Road. We're wrapping up the right-of-way acquisition for that project, and it's most likely going to get tied with Ronan North for construction. So when construction happens for that one, it'll just seem like it's part of Ronan North because they're so close to each other. We're going to coordinate the efforts. Next one is the Glover Road Safety Project. And this one is also off of 93 and it's on Glover Road there west of 93. And it is to identify a crash trend of traffic driving off the road. So guardrail will be installed. There's going to be curve signing added to alert drivers about the upcoming curve. And there's going to also be a flasher for the eastbound traffic at the bridge crossing. This one, we're working on the design right now, and we plan on it going to construction in 2023. Then in the bottom there, under the title reservation or Flathead reservation updated 3.9, we've got this various routes. And this is a job order contract. So this is a contract where we'll get a contractor on board and we'll just piecemeal out different projects to them of similar nature and work. And so this project is going to be for doing bridge deck repair throughout the Missoula district. And it will include concrete repair, joint repair, crack sealing, and polymer overlays for the bridge decks. And there are 12 bridges located within the Flathead Reservation. 9 of them are on 93, 1 is on Highway 200, and 2 are on secondary 382. So they're finalizing the plans on that just yet, and they're gonna let it out in different phases. And I think the Flathead reservation projects are going to be occurring in the 2nd or 3rd phase. They won't be in the 1st phase. Then we've got the District 1 Centerline Rumble Strip projects. That's the one that you saw go to construction last year. That one, all the work is done on the reservation. You won't be seeing that work anymore. Then we've also got in the box there, not on the reservation, but there is tribal interest, is Connor South. And that is reconstructing 7 miles of US 93 south of Connor. So between Connor and around Sula there. And this is where the medicine tree location is. And there was a presentation from WGM to Tribal Council about a year, maybe probably 2 years ago now, showing the revised layout for what that access and area would look like. We actually have the 30% design review this Friday for that project. So we're slowly working our way through that one. Seems like our common theme with all of our projects is the ugliest and worst ones are the ones that are still hanging out for these reconstructed corridors. So this like Post Creek and Nine Pipes is the remaining ugly section on the south side of 93. And then we've also got Bad Rock Canyon study. And this is a study that is occurring in the Bad Rock area on US 2. And we're just right now trying to figure out what the project's going to be. And we're working with CSKT to get an ethnographic study completed for the area. And once we really know what the sideboards are that we're working with, we can finalize what the scope of the project is going to be. Any questions on that? Okay, and then We also have, not on this sheet at all, but I'm sure it's one that you've been hearing mentioned recently, is the US 93 9-pipe feasibility study. And I don't know if Vicky's on the line and able to speak. If not, I'm fine, I can speak too, but she is the project manager out of our planning group, and she is leading the efforts for this study. And we're looking at what we can do and trying to mitigate any risks. We know we've got the EAS with the recommendations for the roadway work there, and we just want to make sure and verify that those recommendations are still feasible, and that should any extra funding come our way, we could move quicker on delivering a project. And quicker is relative terms because it's a behemoth of a complicated project. Any questions on that? Yes, and we will actually have more conversation about that on this Thursday. So the consulting firm that is working on that study will be here, and I believe Vicky will also be here. So you'll get much more detailed information during that time. Okay. All right. Oh, I do see Vicky. Is she able to speak?
I am on.
Oh, hello, Vicky.
Hello, and thank you, Jacqueline. You hit all the great high points, and I look forward to presenting a much lengthier, more in-depth overview of what we're doing on 9-pipe on Thursday. Unless you have any questions right now.
I don't think we do. We'll wait till Thursday.
Great, thank you.
And then speaking of other upcoming meetings, we are also trying to get on another council agenda just to bring all of MDT upper management to actually meet and continue relationship building with CSKT. So we were hoping to do that in April, but we'll see how schedules align.
And I did just get an update, I believe, on that. Director Long, we were trying to get on the schedule for the 28th, and it sounds like the council has a conflict on that day. So we tried to do the 26th, and Mac and I have a conflict on that day. So we're gonna start over and find another, move out a couple weeks. We'll get, so I'd love to have Director Long and our Deputy Director and COO, hopefully our pre-construction engineer and a few others can come up and sit down and meet with everyone as well. So we've got that on the list. And then also today, I don't have our construction engineer or either of our maintenance chiefs with us today. So they're folks that I'd love to meet everyone here again to work on that relationship. And John Schmitz, our construction engineer, he's taken over for the position that I held for the previous 8 years or something. And then Justin Juliffs and Steve Felix are our two maintenance chiefs, and they work closely with everyone. They're the guys that are getting things done once we go to construction and have to take care of things. So, and if you're interested, Steve and Justin do have a few projects going on this summer. I did talk about the Perman North job, but we also have one project on Rocky Point that in mid-April, they're going to do an overlay on 4.5 miles of the Rocky Point Road. They're just north of Polson. It's an old off-system road, an X-route road. And then there's going to be epoxy striping taking place throughout the area as well, that maintenance funds that, and that's our epoxy striping is just a lot more durable paint than the waterborne paint that tends to wear off within a couple months. And in fiscal year 23, it could take place late this summer or it could be next year. Kind of depends on how the contracting world is doing as far as with how full the projects are. They're looking at doing a mill fill from just past the railroad tracks on Round Butte Road to the west to just beyond the intersection with Back Road, doing so mill out the old asphalt off the top and put new asphalt surfacing on. It's particularly all those pipes going under the road, all those culverts have settled. Man, there's some pretty good bumps out there. So, and then the last project taking place is that they're going to be upgrading all of our all of our streetlights on throughout the reservation to LED, going from the old bulbs to a more energy efficient bulb. So that'll be taking place throughout the summers. Quite a few bulbs to change out. So that's what our maintenance folks have going on.
I don't recall in Dixon Agency if there's highway lights out there or not. Are there? Is that a potential for, you know, if you're missing one on an intersection to a community, an intersection is that a light you could put in?
Not with this project. This is simply a retrofit. There was a few different sources of funding came together at the right time, along with some substantial rebates to upgrade your less energy efficient bulbs to the new highly efficient bulbs. And also one of the things that's nice about those is it gets rid of some of the light pollution that you see. They're a lot more directed in a downward direction, so you don't get the rings around them and a glow and stuff. It helps kind of keep the beauty of the dark skies of Montana.
Len?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. And once again, thank you, MDT staff, for visiting with us today. And we really appreciate all of the work that you have done to enhance our roadways here on the reservation. It's always important that we keep those for the safety of the public. And I also would like to acknowledge our own employee, Melinda Charlo. Melinda keeps us apprised of these projects when they're coming up, and I know they keep her really busy, and I appreciate the work that she does also. I just also want to mention that we have some other proposed work that's going to be taking place on some of our properties here just north of Polson across the bridge here. We have some commercial property that we are going to start developing, and traffic control has always been an issue in that particular area. And so at some point in time, we are going to engage MDOT to start the process of evaluating on how we need to address those traffic needs in that particular area. So I just wanted to inform you of that, and we look forward to working with you on those. And once again, thank you for your time to come visit with us today. We always appreciate MDT, knowing that how busy you guys get trying to keep Montana highways safe and passable. And so once again, thank you.
And likewise, thank you very much. And thanks for all the cooperation and coordination with, man, Jacqueline said it, and it's, we've been in our current roles for about, well, I've been in this chair for about 3 years now, and all of our predecessors, they picked all the low hanging fruit. They left nothing but the top on the very top. The tough stuff to get to is what's left out there. So we got a lot of work in front of us, but really appreciate all the coordination and the assistance as we've gone through these, just getting started on some of them. It's exciting, but boy, there's some challenging projects in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob, Jacqueline, Mickey, Scott. Thank you. Great presentation. We look forward to working with you and additional updates. Okay, next on our agenda, Gonzaga Office of Tribal Relations. Barely recognize you with that mask on. Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag out there.
That one? All right. Hello, Chairman McDonald and Tribal Council members. We are here today from Gonzaga's Office of Tribal Relations. I know some of you already. I'm Wendy Thompson, also known as Jordan's mom. And we have actually, I was a single person office for 17 years, and we just recently added 2 staff to the office. And so I will let them introduce themselves, and then they're going to go over some things, and then we'll have time at the end, hopefully, if you have any questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Leah Simeon. I'm a citizen of the Spokane tribe. I'm from the Moses family. I'm also Pakwachin from Vancouver Island. And I started working at the house with Wendy in August.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Rouse. I'm a Hangtuan Nakota, and like Leah, relatively new to the office, started in October as a coordinator of Native Student Accompaniment.
Well, great to meet you. Glad you've expanded your office. Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I have to first say, my condolences about Gonzaga getting beat. Sorry. I think the referees played a real bad role in that game. So just me.
Yeah, the frat boys next door were in mourning for a little bit.
Can only imagine.
A rowdy mourning.
Yeah, it was a sad day, but it's always next year. Do you want to guess?
I don't know how to go to the next one. Could we go to the next slide on the PowerPoint? Is there a way we can control it?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, just use the mouse and you have remote control of it right now.
Oh, there.
All right. So first we want to go over our student numbers at Gonzaga. Our office is really instrumental in sort of counting Native student numbers. That's not something that the institution historically has kind of taken on itself to look at. So really it's been Wendy leading that charge, and now with Leah and I added to the team, kind of looking more at our numbers. So our numbers are really interesting. We have about 98 undergraduate students. And so we're looking at the students who are self-identified. So whether that's single race Native or Native and other. And that's really the only way we have for recording students right now. So we've got 98 undergrad and we've got 83 graduate students. So one thing that's really interesting about GU is that it's almost 50-50 undergrad and grad student. And so, and actually a bulk of those grad students are actually doctoral students. And so there's a lot of, and a lot of our grad students are sort of like spread throughout the country. So a lot of them are on campus for certain amounts of time. And then, they're back home because a lot of them are doing really, really exciting stuff. Working in, administrative positions within tribal colleges. We've actually got a student who's chief of the Ermine Skin Cree Nation up in Canada, and working in state agencies, working for their tribe. And so we're really excited about our graduate students. And from kind of the research we've done, like it's sort of, GU has disproportionately high Native graduate students. So we're really excited about that. And so that number puts us at 181 total Native students. And so one of the other things that we did this year was looking at not just the number of Native students, but what we have for tribal representation. So like I said, GU doesn't necessarily record that. Well, not necessarily, they don't record that. And so we reached out to our students and then started gathering tribal affiliations. So we have what we know of as 42 plus tribal nations represented at Gonzaga. And so we've been doing different efforts to kind of like honor that and sort of make that more visible on campus. But we're also really excited about that. And it's throughout the United States and Canada. Yeah. And so when we kind of look at our work, so this is a quote from one of the Jesuit fathers. So the real measure of our Jesuit universities lies in who our students become. And so that's really sort of one of the the primary lenses that GU looks at its work through. And so we've kind of tried to take that and what does that mean for us in the Office of Tribal Relations? What does that mean for us as Native people? And so really looking at, and that's one of the things that excites us about our graduate students is like, that we feel like they are very much like already doing that work in the communities. They're already doing the things that we want to see our undergraduates doing, which is going back home, investing in their communities, using their education to improve their communities. And that's what a lot of our graduate students are already doing. And so I think that that's what we really see our office as a mechanism for that, and really leaning into that work of like, how can we make sure that, you know, when our students come to GU, when students from here come to GU and they get an education that they don't just go off and not come back, but they're able to come and be part of the community and give back to the community. And so we really want to help facilitate that work.
I'm going to kind of talk about some of the specific ways that we do our work, as Jeremy said. And the first one is that we support the Native students. You know, it's pretty common to have a parent say, thank you for taking care of my daughter, thank you for taking care of my son. And so always taking care of our students is our main priority. And so for our undergraduate students, that might look different for a 19 to 21-year-old. We do a lot of events. So these are pictures from this year. We have a Native soccer player, so we all attended her soccer game. We have a student that plays piano, so we all went to his piano recital. And we try to have as many events at the house as possible that they can be engaged in and be together and create that community. As Jeremy mentioned, we have a lot of graduate students. So obviously like a 30-year-old is not going to be as interested in having like a movie night or like that kind of stuff. They express a real desire to be in network with each other professionally. And so this year, Jeremy has really led the charge in developing a online Zoom space for them to be able to network. And as he mentioned, we have individuals that are acting as heads of tribal colleges and such. And so they're able to be together in that space. Ultimately, though, both our undergrad and graduate students express a desire to be in community with each other and be in a community of where they can feel like they can bring their whole selves and just be indigenous with each other. And so we've been trying to be creative with that, with being in Zoom space. And we're actually really excited because we're going to be hosting another graduate event this next week where they'll be able to get together and kind of support each other. And then also next week, we're going to be having a movie night with the undergrads. So we're constantly creating opportunities for them just to come together. We are also able, now that we are an office of 3, do a lot more recruitment efforts. So we're hoping to actively go out and start specifically recruiting Native students through public education on or near tribal communities, tribal schools, tribal colleges, as well as public schools like School District 81 in Spokane. This is a picture of the a group of Rocky Boy students that came and visited us this fall. This was really exciting because they were able to come to campus, do a campus tour, as well as do an admissions lesson where they learned about different ways to come to GU and attend. But then they also got to go down to the floor of McCarthy and they were so excited and they got to shoot basketballs and like do all that kind of stuff. But one of the most impactful things that really stuck with me of this event was afterwards when we were walking them to the the bookstore. 2 of them came up and said, you know, we've been to so many different colleges this week, but Gonzaga was the first one that made us feel welcome. And so we want to be very intentional about creating opportunities for Native students to come on campus and see themselves possibly on campus, but not just see themselves as students being here, but also being supported by their peers as well as us. And part of that means that, you know, we don't just send our kids away. but we invite the families to be there as well. So when I mentioned like having a mom say, thank you for taking care of my daughter, you know, creating an opportunity for that parent, she was actually able to come in and we had like a fun like day to hang out at the house. And she also brought our student's younger sister. And so we were all able to be there. So being intentional about recruiting our students, but in a way that we have, well, we know that you have a support network, your family, let's bring them in as well when we recruit you. Let's see. And then finally, something that we're really excited to share about our work is starting a Native alumni chapter. These are some pictures of recent, well, not super recent anymore. This is some of our graduates. This is really exciting because our alumni is asking for this. They really, really want this to happen, but they want it to be shaped in a different way than we just go and watch basketball games together at a local restaurant. They want to continue being in community with each other. And most importantly, the same thing that a lot of them express is we want to support the ones that come after us. And so building an alumni chapter that is able to continue to have them be in community with each other and looking forward of the undergrads and the graduates that are coming after them. So we see this as being a really exciting opportunity for them to continue networking with each other. Thank you. As well as a potential thing for us to pull on for our undergrads. So if we have an undergrad that is particularly interested in, for example, my cousin, you can't see me pointing, but my cousin is right here and he was really interested in like wildlife resources. And so being able to have like an alumni that we could potentially like partner him up with advising or, you know, maybe even doing internships, those sorts of things. So we're really excited about the this work that we're doing towards really cultivating an alumni chapter. As Jeremy mentioned, Gonzaga has never really tracked any of this data. So we are starting with piles and piles of spreadsheets that we're working through and categorizing and getting that all ready. Now we'll go to.
All right. So I don't know if you're familiar with the report that was released in December of 2018 when Jesuits West released the names. I think it was actually in response to part of the settlement that was done kind of locally. Released the names of all the priests who had been credibly accused of sexual abuse. And then a week later, there was an article in a publication called The Reveal that talked about the fact that the province had a property that Gonzaga doesn't own, but it was in the middle of Gonzaga's campus that housed retired Jesuits, some of whom were on safety plans as a result of being found to be credibly accused of sexual abuse. So in response, so that just really rocked the Gonzaga community in a very bad way. People were pretty surprised, horrified. I didn't know that there were priests who'd been in tribal communities and retired to Gonzaga's campus who had been determined to have abused children in the communities they'd been at. So in response to that, our president, Faye McCullough, formed a commission to provide him with recommendations for how Gonzaga should respond to the clergy sex abuse crisis in the church. And there were 12 members on the commission. I was one of our Alaska Native students was another. And we came up with recommendations. We have copies. If anybody wants a hard copy, let me know. But there was a whole section in there about tribal relations. And they include things like installing an exhibit that tells a story of GU and tribal communities, responding to spaces, items, and funds that are named for Jesuits with credible claims of sexual abuse, work to provide access for tribal communities to the Jesuit Oregon Province Archives. I don't know, I think council was notified that the Oregon Province Archives, which used to be housed at Gonzaga, were moved to St. Louis. We don't have them anymore. But one of the commission's recommendations was to try and work to provide access to those by tribal communities. Another is to fund scholarships for Native students, and also develop and support structures that support students once they get there, not just to recruit them there and then, throw them into the deep end of the pool, but then also to provide support for them once they're there. Also, we call it the house. You saw a picture of a sign with the students standing around it. We renamed it to a Salish word that Pauline Flett and Felix Aripa gave it some years ago. Neither one of them are still around, but it basically means where you can be. I keep asking Jordan to help me say it, and I'm really bad at it, but it's like Sheen. And so it's supposed to be like Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. With the increased visibility, the next slide, of like all the harms that have been caused on behalf of just a system, that was created that where this abuse could take place. People really began to wonder, well, what are Gonzaga's tribal relations like? Like, are they good? Are they bad? What's going on? And like a lot of people didn't even know that Gonzaga had a director of tribal relations. I was a one-person program, and so I kind of like flew under the radar a lot. And in response to, I think, the commission's report, the increased attention on George Floyd's murder, people beginning to see, the inequities that are just so visible that are happening, and Gonzaga being a humanistic, Jesuit Catholic university, Gonzaga really began to pay attention in a different way, in a way that I hadn't seen in all the time that I had been there. With increased visibility, people had more questions though. And I thought, okay, as long as I'm ahead of their questions, I'm doing all right. But I couldn't do that for very long. And I didn't know how to teach them what they didn't know. And then I began to think, well, who are these people? Like, what do they know? And I thought probably most of them had never been on a reservation except to drive through one. So I thought, what if we just start where the Jesuits started in this region? What if we visit St. Mary's Mission and talk about how Father DeSmet and the Bitterroot Salish people who were there, had this mission, and what happened to those people? Now that they're here, and we have the St. Ignatius Mission, and so to really try to take them on a journey, I kind of couldn't come up with a name, so I called it the mission tour. But mission as in visiting like these physical places called missions, but also mission as in our institutional mission. And so I haven't thought of a better name, but if anyone has an idea, let me know. But the proposal, we had thought about coming last fall, but then COVID kind of, hit again. And so we didn't think that was a good thing to do. And so what we're thinking about now is the weekend of May 14th and 15th, coming over, there'd be about 20 of us, starting at St. Mary's Mission, and then coming up to hopefully, like maybe stopping here and just, it's going to be on a Saturday, but just showing people, we're people who are still here, and going to staying at Quatucknuck, hosting a dinner in the evening that you're all invited to, and also some of you twice, because also for Native alum in the community, and just to share a meal together, and then going to Mass at St. Ignatius Mission the next morning, and hopefully Father Hightower said that he had somebody who might be able to kind of share the space with him and provide us with some information about that area. So just to start in trying to honor Gonzaga's history, but also to be in better relationship, because right now, like my kind of motto has been our tribal relationships begin with the students who come to our, who come to Gonzaga. And so we've done a lot of focus on our students. Now we can actually do things that I'd never dreamed about, but I think that's about it. Any questions?
Well, I really appreciate, Wendy, you coming in and introducing your staff. I want to recognize a new student of yours in the back of the room here, Melanie Adams. She'll be going to Gonzaga. So that's cool. Good for you. My wife has got her master's degree from Gonzaga, and my father has his one of his honorary doctorates from Gonzaga. I would just strongly recommend on your tour that you include him as an asset for that tour. I know him and Bob Biggert have done some publications about the Black Robes and the interaction with the Jesuits. They're pretty good resource material, reference material. So it's great you're here. I want to know more about scholarships. So we always want to know that, how our people can go to higher education and as effectively and cost effectively as possible. So that opportunity for our membership would be great to get out and know that, so, and support them. So any questions from other council members?
No, at this time.
Thank you guys for coming. My dad's a graduate of Gonzaga as well, so yeah, I actually got to go back there 2 months ago and walk around the campus, and it was a weird yeah, just kind of like things going full circle. So thank you guys for coming and being here and everything you guys do over there. And I can kind of see Wendy. We'll see you next time. So thank you guys.
Carol?
Yeah, Wendy and staff, it's good to see you. Yeah, Father Hightower talked to me, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and he said that you were going to be in contact with me, and I have never heard anything, but certainly he didn't. Well, he told me that, and so I've been waiting, and then when I seen you on the agenda, I thought, well, maybe this is what it was about, and so, but anyway, I'd be happy to be involved too, if I could. Yeah, if I could, thank you.
These are the connections, right? Like that MBA AIE program, I think a majority of the students who've come through that program are from this community. And so there are some scholarship conversations in the works that could impact this community. Jeremy is going to a tribal college fair next week. And so really trying to be intentional about not just recruiting, but also caring for our Native students. So it's actually an exciting moment, but I will get in touch with you, Carol. Thank you. And with your data as well. I know that when they had the Jesuits and had a celebration with area tribal people at Gonzaga to celebrate 175 years since they had come to kind of this region. And your dad gave a great presentation about the coming of the Jesuits. So, yeah, just connections all over the place. So if you know of other people that maybe we don't know about, feel free to reach out to. And if anybody wants a copy of the commission's report, we have copies. Oh, you did? When? Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I was too busy doing something else. I
Your
guess,
staff's
so.
ahead of you, Wendy.
That's not unusual. So thank you. We'll be in touch.
Lemleps, thank you. Great meeting you. And thank you. We appreciate the support. Go Bulldogs next year. Okay, James is here. Yep, come on up, James. Good to see you. Like we just saw you last week.
Thank you for welcoming me, Chairman. I spoke to Shane Morjo just a couple minutes ago, and he's on his way up, was in St. Ignatius about 10 minutes ago, but
He's logged in with his smart device. I see his name.
oh, he's probably listening in.
Yep. Oh, he's gonna say something. I hear him. No.
Well, I'll see you guys in a couple minutes, but council members, I think James is on the upcoming ballot, and he's unopposed. So he's going to be our next county attorney. So James is, in his current role as chief county deputy county attorney, he can chime in and kind of obviously you all know James, I think by this point, and know he's been doing a lot of great work with us. And I think he wanted to use this time to check in with us on some of the efforts that we've done together and talk to us about how we collaborate together in the future. So with that, James, I can hand it off to you, and I'll see you in like 2 minutes.
Thank you, Shane. So many of you have worked with me before or know me, but I don't know that I've really ever done a formal introduction. I've been planning on campaigning for county attorney, and I'm running unopposed. So I still want to get out there and meet with folks and talk to them about their concerns. And so I thought this would be a great place for me to start with that task, since this is in a lot of ways where I started my legal career. Currently, I'm the chief criminal deputy county attorney for Lake County. I've been doing that for the last 7 years. And before that, I was a regular deputy county attorney. And before that, I was the law clerk for C.B. McNeil and Judge Christopher. Before that, when I was in law school, I worked with the Missoula County Attorney's Office as an intern prosecutor. And my first legal job was right here with the Defender's Office, working for Ann Sherwood, Ann Miller. She was kind enough to take me in back then. I had read that your Constitution allows law students to practice law if they're admitted. And my very first legal interview didn't go so well when I told some civil attorneys I didn't want to sit in their basement and write briefs for them all summer. I wanted to get out there and work with people. They said, yeah, we don't do that here, but good luck. And I called up Ann Miller, and she said, yeah, sure, you can come on up here and we'll put you to work. I just can't pay you anything. And I don't want to teach you how to do this if you're just going to go be a prosecutor. So I drove up here 4 days a week from Missoula. I got a $500 stipend from the law school. And right after the summer, I turned into a prosecutor. She doesn't hold it against me. Through my time here, I was also the city attorney down in St. Ignatius. I lived there for 9 years and helped them out for, I think I was the city attorney for about 5 years. I quit doing that when I was promoted to chief at the county. I've been on the board of directors for the Mission Valley Aquatics Center. And right now I serve with Carol on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club. So giving back to the community and working with kids is kind of my passion. Preventing crime and doing what we can to not create more defendants in the future is money well spent in my book. I helped Judge Manley get our drug court started and was part of the original team that helped put that together. And that was really good to see, and our community really needed that. So I was happy that I was in a place where I was able to help get that off the ground. Judge Manley's retiring in the next couple of months, but I think everyone in the courthouse is committed to keeping that program going, and I certainly am going to do everything I can to keep all of that good work in our community going. I guess I really could talk about myself all day, but that's not what I'm what I wanted to do here. But if any of you all have any questions in particular about our criminal justice system or how the county attorney's office is working for you all or the people you represent, I'd be happy to talk about any issues that you've got. Our relationship with the county and the tribes is sometimes strained and sometimes adversarial and sometimes friendly. And, I want to do everything I can to keep those open lines of communication and work with y'all as much as possible. I'm a prosecutor, not a politician, so I want to focus on community safety and working with the sheriff's office and working with the tribal law and order. Keep my focus on that, but occasionally I get pulled into political issues and things of that nature and try and give the best counsel I can to people involved. But I guess with that, if anybody has any questions for me.
Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. And James, thank you. Once again, thank you for coming in. We always appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you've done throughout the community. Not only with the Boys and Girls Club and the drug court, but you've done a lot for the community, and we recognize that. We've seen that, and so we're very fortunate that we're going to have a county attorney like yourself working out there for the people. James, I just wanted to mention here, 2 weeks back, this tribal council was given an opportunity to tour the Lake County Jail. The thing that was very troubling to me, at least from my perspective, was 80 to 90% of the inmates in there were Native American. Many of them in there may have been in there for petty drug crimes. I don't know exactly what it was, but the ones that I did know, I know their families. I know they're not criminals. They're not criminals. And I really like the idea that, we're very fortunate that we have a drug court out there that we're able to work with these people. And to know that there's people like you and my colleague Carol out there that think outside the box and looking at all these other resources that are out there to help our people. Because we're all in this together, non-members and tribal members. Drug abuse, it's rampant, and it's afflicting all of us. And so I just wanted to just mention that to you, that is something that I would like us to try to address. I know we've been trying for years and years and years, and nobody really has the one answer. And but just knowing the fact that we have people like yourself out there that really does care about the community, we appreciate that. So once again, thank you for coming in today. We do appreciate you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, recently I've seen kind of more of a cooperation tone from a lot of people. And, I think it was Mike I heard say the other day, about coming together to build a facility that we can all work together in. And at one point, I think we were on that path. And then, somebody says something stupid, and then it just raises all kinds of walls. But when I was in Lake County, I thought tribal jail was really a difficult, hard place to do time with no windows. You don't get out. But the crowdedness up there, and wow, just blew me away. In the kitchen, how small it is for even a worker to have to work in that. it was tough to see. So, I think it's time if we could go hand in hand to the state and to Congress and, just ask for funding. It'd probably be a unique project. I don't know of any tribe and county that really do get along across this nation, but going hand in hand together saying we want to fix this, and we have the ability to stand up programs and do it right, and also provide abilities with the drug court and all of the things that go along with that. You probably need less treatment and more community involvement in helping people to get well. And so, maybe that's what we need to do, is pull that group back together again. And I don't know how, I didn't talk to my colleagues before before I said this, but I just think it's time that we try. And I don't know if you're the person that would head that up for the county, or do we need to go back to the county commissioners and yourself to talk about that, or where do we start?
Well, I think a conversation about that would have to start with the commissioners. And I'd certainly be interested in helping to facilitate that conversation and help pursue any joint ventures that would help us get the things that we need here for our community. Our jail is awful. So our jail does not have a single person in it right now who is serving a punishment sentence. They've been convicted and they're guilty, and your punishment is you get to do 30 days in jail. We don't have a single person in our jail doing that. Every one of them is in pre-trial or pre-adjudication for a probation revocation on a felony. And the vast majority of them are there for a violent crime or some combination of not showing up for court. And Councilman Two Teeth stepped out, but there are a lot of systemic reasons why the population in our jail is skewing to be more tribal members. And unfortunately, the biggest feeder to that is that your jail isn't full. And so what frequently happens is a tribal member will get a citation for a drug case and not come to court, and a warrant will get issued. And eventually they'll get picked up by tribal law and order for a misdemeanor, and eventually find room in our jail for them over at Lake County. Whereas a non-tribal defendant in the same situation wouldn't ever get arrested on those misdemeanors and those traffic offenses, because we simply don't have room in our jail. And I can make excuses about that forever, but the result is that there is a disparate impact on tribal members in our community being incarcerated at a higher rate. Trying to get the drug treatment to get people out of jail and into treatment is really what I've been passionate about. We had a meeting today with a different treatment provider service at Lake County that would do what Western Montana Mental Health does. They opened up an inpatient treatment center up in Columbia Falls that does a 60-day program. And so we were talking to them about contracting for some other services in Lake County to help have more seamless jail to treatment to aftercare programs. And I really see that as an opportunity for the tribes in the county to work together to get those treatment services seamlessly integrated with people who are being released from custody. And it would be wonderful if there was a way to get an inpatient treatment program here on the reservation that would have culturally relevant and culturally significant treatment options for the people of the valley.
Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, James. Nice seeing you. Yeah, I appreciate that you cut your teeth under a hand, because you know, she does a lot of the things that you are talking about right now. And, you know, I worked for I was a reentry case manager for a while. And so I really feel like that program works well. And, you know, one of the discussion points we've had is putting someone from here up at Lake County to assist because, you know, we need a full-time person there as well. And funding it, you know, the one thing I always talk about is beefing up reentry down here because I think it's on its second extension. And so eventually that's going to go away unless we fund it. And so it's something that, you know, a lot of what they do is getting people into the system and getting them into treatment and, you know, the basic needs. And so I think that, you know, like Carol said, the relationship between us and Lake County is changing. And I really think that we can be creative and fix address the problems, not the results of these, you know, the co-occurring, you know, results of addiction and mental illness. Those go hand in hand. And then that's when the crime comes in, as you well know. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you, I guess, elected, appointed, you know, yeah, I'm glad that you're unopposed. So thank you.
Thank you for that. The reentry program that Ann runs here is really valuable and really kind of special. Addie Rockwell is their attorney right now. And she emails me almost every week about somebody, and she's been a tremendous asset to me. Oftentimes she'll reach out about a defendant who's got cases in both jurisdictions, and she's able to think outside the box and get some services directed at some folks. She was just up in court with me last week, and we kind of handed off a juvenile case to her, and she's going to help us do some social work because that youth is a defendant but also a victim, and that's the reality of most of our juvenile defendants, is that they're also probably victims of something. And so having her as a resource has been really good. And I had heard, and I wasn't a part of the conversations about whether or not the tribes were going to be pursuing some drug treatment court options in your own court system or jurisdiction. And I would be super stoked to talk about how that could work, or how I could help with that, or how we could maybe expand some low-level felony jurisdiction to the tribes to do a treatment model for particularly drug abuse cases, because we've got more of them than we know what to do with, and having all of the above approach to getting those people some help and getting them back on the right track would be something I'd be really interested in working on.
Carol?
Yes, how do you envision that working? I mean, I know that's just a real broad question, but I'm just trying to figure out all the opportunities that you guys as the county has to use the state system and get people into these programs and find beds for people. So if we did an MOU or MOA together, how would that work for us? I think I asked you this question before too.
So the tribes and the county both have concurrent felony jurisdiction. And so if the tribes want to assert felony jurisdiction over cases, I think you're free to do that.
Yep.
The problem becomes your limitations on sentencing under, I think it's called the Indian Major Crimes Act. And I don't want to get ahead of myself or say something I'm going to have to walk back later, but for example, I think it would be possible for your prosecutor's office to prosecute tribal members on a first offense felony drug possession case, and you have the stick, which is a year in jail. I mean, that's that's all you need. People straighten up or they don't within a year of probation. So you could sentence somebody to a year of tribal jail, all suspended, put them on probation. You already have a misdemeanor probation system. You can do drug monitoring and you can require drug treatment. And you could do that all with existing infrastructure and existing programs. You could, it would require building out the staff in those departments. I mean, it wouldn't be free, but you know, if you got an extra prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a probation officer and a treatment coordinator, you know, 4 or 5 FTEs could probably handle, you know, 50 to 100 of these a year, and manage that case flow internally. And then if things don't go well and people's problems are more than you can manage, then they could get referred back to the county for a second offense. And we could use Department of Corrections resources to do those types of programs. You could pursue your own drug court model, something a bit more formal, and see if you can find grants to fund a drug court, just like Lake County did. And that would provide probably a bit more structure to this idea, but it's not rocket surgery. You know, the vast majority of these defendants are obviously guilty under the law, but what do we do about it is the bigger issue. They have a substance abuse issue that we need to clear up. We need to get them healthy so that they're productive members of our community, so they can take care of their kids, so they can have a job and pursue happiness in life. And so figuring out how to get them clean and sober. If you've got some resources or some way to do that, I'd be happy to work with you to figure that out. And it wouldn't require a major policy shift or a, you know, change in legislation. It would, the retrocession agreement that we have in place already contemplates that to some degree. So it could be as simple as an MOU between the tribal prosecutor's office and the county attorney's office.
See, Mr. Chair, everybody wake up. This is our opportunity. I think with the, and I hope I'm not overstepping here, but I really think this is the issue. You've just spelled out exactly what we need to do. We need to beef up our probation. You know, all of these entities that need to come together. But unless they know what to do, then it won't happen. And I think you just said you're willing to offer your assistance. And didn't I hear somebody like Anita say last week or the week before that there is money available? Why aren't we spending it? We're going to have to turn it back. So with that being said, I think this is an opportunity that we have Judge Manley and James Lapotka willing to help us. And I think we need to move on it, Mr. Chair. And I applaud Rick and the executive staff for trying to do what they can, but unless you've ever ran one, you can't really, put it all together. And this is our key, I think, right here, is for somebody to help us and guide us. And we're good at standing up programs and bringing it all together. I mean, that's not the issue. It's just finally getting somebody to say, yeah, these are the steps. These are what you should do. And sit down with the people and let them know they need to be either in or out, because you can't be somebody saying that, oh yeah, I'll show up in the next three meetings and then not show up again. It doesn't work that way. You need to have a buy-in with the staff and the courts and everybody. So
we started the drug court program in Lake County essentially for free with volunteers. I mean, I get paid to go to work all day, so I can work on this or I can work on that. And we had a core group of 5 or 6 people who were basically donating 10% of their work week to getting this off the ground and running. And you could tap some of your resources to do that. You could do this incrementally in baby steps. If you had a full-time coordinator who was working with some treatment providers, we could also have the county attorney's office and the county court system sentencing people under the state system to probation and having a condition of that be that they complete whatever program is available. I do that frequently, and it's usually kind of generic. You're on probation for 2-3 years and you have to get a chemical dependency evaluation and follow all the recommendations of your treatment provider. I'm not a licensed addiction counselor. I'm not a doctor. I outsource those expertise, but if you had a program, people could apply for it, and completing that program could be a condition of their probation. And I'd be happy to work with that.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Carol. I'm not sure about the money, but Shane, you're not driving anymore. Come on up to the table. So one thing I want to say is, as you can obviously see, is that James is a very creative person, and he's an asset that, of course, the tribes would want to utilize as much as possible. So anything you offer up, be careful. We're going to follow through. You know, all the different times that I've been at a place where James has been there, he's been a great listener, and he's absorbed everything and is able to offer solutions and think outside the box. So really appreciate that, James. That's one of your strong assets. And other than being a great human being, you lead by your role modeling. So when you're stepping up and doing different things in the community, you're exactly what we want. So Shane, go ahead.
Yeah, this is where we ask Lake County to give us some pass-through funds for new programs. No, but I have to push it back on James. Me and James went to law school together. I almost didn't recognize him today because he shaved. I don't know if that's a recent thing. And it's not a prerequisite to have the same haircut either, James, as me. But you know, James has been great to work with. We've had some great meetings with Lake County and James. We have some options. The Indian Civil Rights Act is what the sentencing authority is, limiting the tribes to 1 year and $5,000. The TLOA Tribal Law and Order Act allows you to expand that. But I don't think that's really what we want to do, right? We're not looking to just find tribal members more and put them in jail for longer terms. We want to actually address the problem when there is a problem, right? Whether that's just getting people housing for reentry programs, keeping them out of situations where they might reoffend. And so James and our team can continue to work together on that front. Carol's been in the mix, Martin, all of you at some point, I think at this point in time have been at the table with James and Lake County. So I think there's a lot of good options there. I think one that we can explore is taking on some of those lower tiered felony offenses and finding ways to work on rehabilitating folks into the community to where they can stay out of the criminal justice system and get into that cycle of recidivism. So, and we, in the legislative session, we open up that door for the tribes to be able to take on pieces of that when we feel comfortable. Obviously, that'll take a little bit of resources to ramp up the infrastructure on our side if we wanted to do more of that. But I think there's some opportunities to partner together with James and Lake County and possibly someday Judge Lopatka. Who knows if that's going to be closer in the future or not, but of course we have a good partner here to do that, and look forward to continuing to work with them.
Or the Department of Justice money that we keep talking about, we may have to turn back if we don't use it.
Yeah, we can touch base with, I know that we had a team looking into, I think with the court, prosecutors, defenders, they have some resources there, and have to look into what those can be all used for. But I think there are some funds that that kind of got bottled up during the COVID times because folks weren't doing a whole lot just at all levels. So we can revisit that and see what the opportunities are as far as if we can utilize any of those funds for treatment programs, drug court, that sort of thing.
Thank you, Shane. Any other comments for James' benefit? And otherwise, thank you so much for coming in. And I wouldn't spread the word that he was a classmate of yours. That might, no, just.
Shane was one of the first people I met in Montana. I moved out here. I'd never been to Montana. I grew up in Wisconsin, and Missoula sounded like a fun place to go to law school. So my wife and I packed up a U-Haul and came out here, and we were driving down I-90 and the sky was on fire and ash was falling down on our car and there were tumbleweeds in the parking lot. And Shane actually lived in the same little student housing unit area as me. And yeah, I think the two of us got each other through our first finals together. He introduced me to the student union and a quiet place to read a book.
That's great. Shane was there, and I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun together in law school. I can only imagine. So thank you so much, James, for coming in, and good luck.
Thank you very much. I'd like to kind of make this more of a regular thing and come back here in 6 months or so and just touch base after summer and just make this more of an ongoing conversation between us.
Please do, because we would love to have your support in our conversations with the county commissioners. Thank you.
We'll hold you up on.
Thanks, James. Good. I think we're going to need to take a 3-minute break, and then we'll have Lance. You knew I was going to do that to you, Lance, right? Yeah, I shortened it up. You know, the sun came out. Okay, some saddles, huh? We're moving into executive session for lands issues.